Welcome everyone, join us today as we honor the life and legacy of Peter Tork, the quirky, lovable bassist of the Monkees, who brought both musical talent and heart to one of the most iconic pop groups of the 1960s. So let's dive in. Peter Tork, born Peter Halston Thorkelson on the 13th of February 1942, in Washington, D.C., United States of America. Born the eldest child of Virginia and Halston Thorkelson, he had three younger siblings, brothers Nick and Christopher, and a sister, Annie. Not long after Peter's birth, the family moved to Detroit, where his brother Nick was born, before relocating again to Berlin, Germany. There, Peter's father served as a first lieutenant in the army, and their German chauffeur taught young Peter to speak the local language because he didn't yet know a word of English. By the time the family left Germany, Peter spoke fluent German, just like a native. The Thorkelsons were a close-knit family, and after returning to the US, they eventually settled in Madison, Wisconsin. Peter had started school early while in Germany, where children begin formal education at age 5. Because he was born in February, he started mid-year, but when they moved back to the States, school officials wanted him to repeat first grade. His parents refused, and from that point on, Peter was always one of the youngest in his class, a difference that over time, would make him feel out of step with his peers. He did well academically, attending a private school by 4th grade where he earned solid A's and B's. In Madison, Peter had a small but steady group of friends, but school life would become a challenge. By 5th grade, things began to slide. He was younger, often trying too hard to be funny, eager to fit in, and rarely succeeding. Though he maintained friendships outside of class, school itself became a struggle, leaving his later childhood and early teen years emotionally difficult. After Peter's father earned his PhD at the University of Wisconsin, the family relocated once again, this time to Connecticut. Peter had been taking piano lessons since the 4th grade and continued through to his sophomore year of high school, but he never enjoyed them and felt he got little out of the experience. It wasn't until Christmas at age 16, when his parents gifted him a guitar, that he truly connected with music. He taught himself to play, marking the beginning of a lifelong passion. In his senior year, Peter transferred schools after the University of Connecticut High School opened. There, he finally found himself among peers his own age, making for a far more comfortable and enjoyable environment. Unlike his former school, to which he felt little connection, Peter fully embraced life at his new high school, attending football and baseball games and participating in extracurriculars like the Rifle Club, where he and his father would occasionally practice together. Though interested in acting, Peter's smaller build and young appearance often kept him from landing lead roles. He did, however, land the part of the paperboy in Our Town twice, once at 13, and again at 15. Musically, he expanded his skills by learning the French horn, and in his senior year, he played 4th chair in the University of Connecticut concert band. Not the high school band, but the university-level ensemble. Peter also shared a creative bond with his younger brother Nick. The two worked together on the campus humor magazine, with Nick contributing cartoons, a talent he'd been nurturing since early childhood. After finishing high school, Peter headed straight to college. At the time, his taste in music didn't quite align with what was popular, though he remained an admirer of Ray Charles, and was instantly captivated when the Beatles arrived on the scene. For Peter, the Beatles represented everything he believed pop music could be, finally brought to life. Academically, though, college proved to be a challenge. He flunked out by the second term, not wanting to grasp the level of commitment it demanded. By the time he realized his grades had slipped too far, it was too late to recover. Instead, Peter took a job at a thread factory, where he spent the next 14 months, and surprisingly loved it. His childhood sweetheart still lived across the street, and many of his friends were either attending the local university or not yet in college, so he had no shortage of companionship or fun. Feeling ready to try again, he returned to college and completed a year with a solid C average. But once more, he ran into the same wall, a lack of motivation. He dropped out for good during the first term of his junior year. Not long after, Peter moved to New York City, a place he'd always dreamed of living. With fond memories of visiting his grandmother there throughout his youth, the city had long held a special magic for him, and it quickly became the backdrop for the next chapter in his story. Peter found work as an office boy at a theatrical agency, but his heart was already in Greenwich Village. At night, he'd take his banjo downtown to play folk music, often staying out late, which soon cost him the job.
Fortunately, he'd saved just enough to get by while easing into the scene.
He eventually found a small apartment in the village, surrounded by a growing circle of friends. Once he stepped on stage, Peter knew he was meant to be a performer. He loved every moment of it. Over the next 2 years, he scraped by with kitchen jobs but earned more through music. A 6-week break in Venezuela visiting his father recharged him, but the village always called him back. The community there was tight-knit. If you were down on your luck, someone always had a couch for you. When a few friends headed to California, Peter hitched a ride west and stayed with them in Huntington Beach. He took a dishwashing job at the Golden Bear, where groups like the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band played. Whenever he could, he'd jump on stage for a guest set, just for the chance to be in front of a crowd again. Peter first heard about the audition for a new TV show from his friend Stephen Stills of Buffalo Springfield. Stills had tried out but was turned down. The producers didn't like his teeth or hair, though they asked if he knew anyone with a more Nordic look. Weeks passed before Stephen called Peter again, urging him to give it a shot. With nothing else to do that day, Peter hopped on a bus to Hollywood and went in for the interview. To his surprise, he landed the role, joining Michael Nesmith, Mickey Dolenz, and Davy Jones in the Monkees, a show about a fictional pop band chasing fame and success. Before joining the Monkees, Peter was already a skilled musician. While the band members weren't initially allowed to play their own instruments on the first 2 albums, Peter managed to contribute rhythm guitar on Michael Nesmith's track, Papa Jean's Blues. As the band progressed, he added keyboards, bass, banjo, harpsichord, and more to their recordings. He also co-wrote the second season's closing theme, For Pete's Sake. On the TV show, Peter played the role of the goofy, lovable one, a character he'd already been performing in the Greenwich Village folk scene. Behind the scenes, he and the others had differing views on musicianship. Peter believed Davy Jones was a solid drummer and thought their live setup should have reflected each member's strengths. Himself on guitar, Nesmith on bass, and Jones on drums, with Dolenz as the frontman. Peter was most passionate about the band collaborating as true musicians in the studio, but creative differences made that difficult. By 1967, with fewer creative restrictions, Peter finally got to contribute more musically to the Monkees, playing piano on Daydream Believer, banjo on You Told Me, and co-writing tracks like For Pete's Sake and Lady's Baby. He was especially close to his grandmother Catherine, who helped run his fan club at the time. The Monkees' success included 6 albums, 4 of them reaching number 1, a hit TV series, worldwide tours, and the experimental film Head. But behind the scenes, creative tensions grew. Tired of the workload and frustrated by the group's direction, Peter bought out the remainder of his contract for $160,000 in late 1968 and left the band. According to his bandmates, the decision reflected his deeper nature. He wasn't the goofy character seen on screen but a thoughtful, introspective artist who longed to return to his roots. In late 1967, Peter played banjo for George Harrison's Wonderwall film, though it didn't appear on the official soundtrack. After leaving the Monkees, he formed a band called Release, but they couldn't land a record deal and soon disbanded. He also attempted to launch a production company, but it failed, and he ended up broke, selling his house, and living in David Crosby's basement for $25 per month with his pregnant girlfriend, Rain Stewart, to whom he was later briefly married. In 1972, a drug charge led to 3 months in an Oklahoma prison, returning to California upon his release. In the 70s, Peter lived in Marin County, joined a blues band and choir, then returned to LA, where he married Barbara Iannoli, had a son, and worked as a teacher. He occasionally reunited with Monkees bandmates, including a 1976 Disneyland show and a holiday single. He also made a surprise appearance on Howard Stern's show in the 80s and acted in the 2017 indie horror film, I Filmed Your Death. In 1980, Peter recorded a 6-song demo with southern rock band Cottonmouth after a chance meeting with a Sire Records executive. Despite guest appearances by Joan Jett and Chrissie Hynde, Sire passed on the tapes. Around this time, Peter also performed on The Uncle Floyd Show and released a single with his group The New Monks. He made several TV appearances, including a playful stint on David Letterman. Peter reunited with the Monkees several times from the mid-1980s onward, including the popular 1986 20th anniversary tour with Mickey and Davy, and the full band reunion for 1996's Justice. He also formed his own groups like the Peter Tork Project, Dashboard Saints, and blues outfit Shoe Suede Blues, releasing solo albums and touring regularly. Outside music, Peter took acting roles, including Boy Meets World, Wings, The King of Queens, and Seventh Heaven, and even wrote an advice column online. He continued to tour with Mickey and Mike into the 2010s, with his final Monkees performances taking place in 2016. On a personal note, Peter was married 4 times. His first 3 marriages, to Jody Babb, Rain Stewart, and Barbara Iannolli, ended in divorce. In 2013, he married Pamela Grapes, and they remained together until his passing. He had 3 children, a daughter, Hallie, with Rain Stewart, a son, Ivan, with Barbara Iannolli, and another daughter, Erica, from a relationship with Tammy Shestak. In March 2009, Peter shared with fans that he had been diagnosed with adenoid cystic carcinoma, a rare and slow-growing cancer affecting the head and neck. Fortunately, early tests suggested it hadn't spread beyond its original site. He underwent surgery in New York City the following day, followed by radiation treatment in hopes of preventing a recurrence. Sadly, by June, Peter learned the cancer had returned. Though understandably shaken, he remained optimistic, noting doctors gave him an 80% chance of controlling the new tumor. Despite undergoing radiation in July, Peter continued to tour and perform, staying connected with fans through updates on Facebook. He used his platform to raise awareness and encourage support for the Adenoid Cystic Carcinoma Research Foundation. Tragically, on February 21, 2019, Peter Tork passed away at his home in Willimantic, Connecticut, after his cancer had returned in 2018, 9 years after his initial diagnoses. He was 77 years old. And there you have it. Though Peter Tork is no longer with us, his legacy lives on in the music, the memories, and the joy he helped bring to millions. More than just a monkey, he was a gifted musician, a gentle spirit, and a man who never stopped creating. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos on your favorite artists just like this. Take care and bye for now.